Today, folks, we get to dive into the life of one of the best bantamweight fighters on the planet, Raufeon Stots. He is 19-2, a professional fighter in Bellator, an absolute ass kicker. He's choked me out before in real life. A hilarious guy with a lot of stories, so stick around to hear the stories about him maybe robbing an ice cream truck as a kid, his journey as a fighter, a wrestler. This is one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done. So, folks, the story of Raufeon Stots. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very special guest. We have an absolute, one of the strongest people that's ever put hands on me in my entire life. We have a fighter, a wrestler, a dad, and so much more. We have Raufeon Stots. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate it, man. I'm glad to be here, man.
So I had met Raufeon training at Raufeon Stots way back in the day, and I've gotten to wrestle, do jiu-jitsu with a whole lot of people. Two people come to mind when I think of the strongest people that I've ever put hands on me. You and Jordan Newman.
Oh my God, Jordan Newman is a fucking savage.
And what you guys both have in common is you're both two-time national champions. First thing I want to start off, we're going to get into your Bellator career. We're going to get up to your come up, everything around that. But you train with a lot of professional people.
Yeah.
Who is someone that comes to mind that when you think of an absolute animal that you've been in the room with, that you can't even believe, like, how is this guy this strong or this quick or this talented? Who is someone that comes to mind that you're like, this guy is a specimen?
Like for different things, for strength, I would say Jordan Newman. Jordan Newman's been the just crazy amount of strength that I've ever felt, you know.
You got to meet him when he first started fighting, right?
Yeah.
So
so everything too was almost enhanced because he was everything was jerky, everything was fight or flight, you know. So he was coming at me fucking full speed.
To give people context, he was a D3 national champ from Whitewater. That just he took the last 2 years by storm. He took, I think, fourth in the Midlands, or he almost he was kicking the shit out of people from top to bottom.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just he was hard to keep practice. He was hard to practice with in the room because so many people got hurt wrestling him because he just has an
ungodly amount of strength. It's insane. It's insane. So that's who comes to mind when I think of strength. Speed. You know, there's a guy fighting on the Contender Series tonight, Cameron Smotherman. And Smotherman is
that's
his name.
A name that made for a fighter.
Exactly,
dude.
Yeah. Cameron Smotherman. And he's super fast, you know. He's a young kid, but he's got really quick reflexes. So that's who comes to mind.
Do you feel like people like that, can you train speed, or is it just hey, my natural gift is going to be strength, your natural gift is going to be endurance, and then you can enhance that through training, and he just was naturally a fast kid?
I think that's how it is. I think you have natural gifts.
It's naturally in them.
I think it's something innate to a lot of people, and then you can enhance it, but only to a certain extent, you know? So if you're naturally fast, you know, you can kind of hone that and make it a little better, you know, with techniques and training. But I think naturally, you know, some people are faster depending on their body type. Some people are stronger, you know what I mean, depending on their background.
What about creativity and fight IQ? Because I look at a guy like Volk, where he'll have something happen to him in the fight. They say he's like a computer, and then he'll make a slight adjustment, and then that'll result in the knockout. Yeah. And that, to me, I guess when I would compete, I never had the ability to stop and think he's doing this with his hands, so I gotta do this. It was always just wrestle, or grapple.
I think that's an ability, you know, all in itself. And at Raufeon Stots, I feel like they get a good job of, you know, trying to instill and teach, you know, the what's, the whys, and that at the top level, I feel like that's, you know, that's why Volk is Volk. That's why he's, you know, number one pound for pound, because he's able to make those adjustments. He's able to notice those things, you know, and it's almost like you got to have a sense of calm about you in the chaos or whatever to be able to pick up on those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things that I really admire about you. I got to see your fight in Minneapolis or Minnesota, somewhere in Minnesota
on
the
I think it was Minneapolis.
Yes.
Yeah, LFA.
LFA. And when you go to the cage, dude, you look like you're skipping through the park. You look like you're about to go for a brunch and eat pancakes. It looks like the most relaxed and effortless thing.
I'm having the greatest time of my life, during the fight, or when I know I'm getting a fight, because at that point it's I don't have to worry about my training partner. I don't have to like do extra things to make sure I'm ready. Like all I got is the fight, you know, and that's exciting to me, you know. I feel like I train really hard, and I train, you know, I put myself through a lot of gruesome things, you know what I mean, while I'm training. So when I get to fight, you know, I'm about to get paid to beat the fuck out of somebody, and like this the best time. It's the best time of your life.
You seem like you don't even get nervous a little bit.
Yeah. So I feel like I channel or I express nervousness different. So I feel like it's I'm excited, you know. Like everybody gets nervous. Everybody like, oh, you don't know if you're gonna lose or not, you know. But I feel like I have more excitement toward, you know, what could be, and I'm like looking forward to the positives of what's going on to like worry about the negative.
That's
shit.
the perfect mindset. And I knew growing up wrestling, it took me so long to be able to compete. I think it took me like almost 10 years to learn how to compete. Because when I was a kid, I would show up to the meet and like I'd want to like throw up. Or
wow.
Did you ever have this in Texas where you have to go to the bullpen with all the other kids and wait in line, and then you'd go out to your mat?
Yeah.
I would have to go pee back and forth so many times because my nerves were just out of control. And then in college, I kind of realized I was like, no one really gives a shit besides me. Like, there's maybe a couple hundred people, and only person that's going to remember it tomorrow is me.
Yeah.
And I was a freshman that made varsity by the skin of my teeth, and I was just like, no one expects me to win anyway. So like all the pressure fell off, and it was like, all right, now I feel good. Like I can like pace around, and like I'm the guy that has no pressure. I'm gonna bring it to this guy who's supposed to win, and then it started like that's when I really took off.
That could be because I started when I was late. I started as a junior, you know.
Junior in high school, you started wrestling.
Yeah, and started.
So
wrestling.
and just to give context to people that aren't familiar with the wrestling world, there are kids that are 4 or 5 years old, starting youth wrestling. They're winning state tournaments. They're winning high school state titles. To start at junior in high school and then be a 2-time college national champion is absurd. Walk me through that. What even made you get started at 16?
At 16, so what happened was like shortly before, actually the summer of my junior year, or the summer of my sophomore year, I should say, my mom had passed away, you know, and my coach had approached me about like doing wrestling just to get quiz points. You know what I mean? He was like, "Hey, I'm giving out quiz points. Anybody want to try out wrestling?" I was like, "Oh, okay, y'all try it out."
You got bribed into it by the teacher.
Exactly. I got bribed into it to trying it out. And then once I realized I didn't know anything about it, you know. So
did you have an opinion of wrestling?
I didn't have any opinion because I didn't even know, like I didn't know about the singlets. I didn't know anything about wrestling. Like,
when people said wrestling, did you think?
I thought WWE.
Exactly.
Is what I thought.
You thought about to be jumping off the rings and stuff?
Straight up. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll see. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? Like, what the ropes at? Where the fucking ring at, you know? So I walked into this mat or whatever, and then afterwards, I was just like, man, I felt good about, you know, kind of like letting go aggression, you know? Mm-hmm. Like it was a place where I can like fucking let it all fly and, you know, try to take this dude down and try my best, you know. And so I liked it. And then so I went out for my my sophomore year of my summer year of my sophomore year. And and then my mom passed that year, so I felt like I wanted to continue to do it because it felt like a relief. Like I felt like I could hurt kids and not get in trouble for it, you know. Like, so that for me, that's kind of how I fell in love with it. So I just kept like doing it, just cause I was like I was angry, but then I could do it and get praised for it pretty much. So
there's a podcast that's called Wrestling Saved My Life. And, I'm hearing it from your story. I know with me, I was a senior in high school when my pop passed away, and I was so busy, like I had because we wanted to be state champions, and I was so focused that I didn't even really deal with the grief of losing him until like 6 years after, because wrestling kept me focused, and that there's good and bad in that. Yeah. But did you feel like the draw of wrestling is like what kind of kept you grounded in that you were chaos happening? You're like, your mom passed away. Is that what kept you like? Yeah,
that's what it kept me kind of like grounded, and then having like a goal. Having a goal or whatever, so I wasn't like focused on just the sadness and being. I was just mad. I was mad at the world. I was mad at God. I was mad at, you know, a lot of shit just because I was like, man, this woman was a fucking nice woman. She went to church. She did everything she was supposed to do. And then she was just fucking taken away, you know. So wrestling helped me like get through that anger phase, you know what I mean? And then it also helped me because like through the end of my junior year, then I was like, oh, well, I need to start getting ready for college. Like that's something that she would want, you know? So then it turned from like grief to like, or anger to like wanting to try to, you know, make her proud wherever she was. So it just kind of kept me on a better path than I would have went down if I didn't have it. You
talk about it helped you get out of aggression. I think that's one of the biggest things about wrestling is when young men get into trouble, people are either and it can escalate. You can go from either your I knew and where I grew up, it was like they called it garage hopping, car hopping. Like, is this car door open? I'll see what I can take, or I'll ding. Like I was maybe more of the pussy level. I was ding dong ditching, or like I lit a bag of poop on someone's porch one time. But like young men get into trouble, and we have that extra energy. And wrestling is one of the few sports that you can go all out in the practice. With kickboxing, if you go all out, you're gonna get really hurt. Jiu-Jitsu, you can go all out in Jiu-Jitsu too, like the grappling sports.
It's relatively safe. It's relatively safe, and you get to exert all your energy into something, you know. And not to say I was doing that shit too. Like I was stealing people generators, you know what I mean? I was fucking fat bat fucking in the Vaco, you know.
Break that down for me. What'd you just say you were doing?
So we called it fat bat fucking in the Vaco. So like a vacant house, we would find a vacant house. We'd find some girls or apartment or whatever it was, and then we'd go and,
Would you even put like a tarp down or just whatever you had?
Just on the carpet. Hopefully the house was finished enough that they had carpet in it, you know what I mean? We bring blankets and stuff like that, but yeah, man, we used to do that stuff all the time. I used to, and I feel like I paid for it like in little ways here and there, but I used to like break into people's houses. We robbed a fucking ice cream truck, you know, like we fucking, like I wasn't.
How did you rob an ice cream truck? Tell me about the strategy behind that.
I was so little, like I was around like 11, and my older cousins, I was pretty much just the accomplice. Like I was just there for the ice cream pretty much. I didn't even get any of the money.
Did you get a ski mask?
So they had it all figured out. They like ran up, it was like 3 cousins. We ran up on the fucking ice cream truck. We fucking and then they were talking to him. They pretended they had a gun.
Hey sir, I'd like his ice cream sundae.
No, we would ask for ice cream, and then they came around the truck or whatever, hopped into the driver's side fucking window. And then, you know what I'm saying? Then they told them, like, hey, we need the ice cream. And then they were like, hey, hurry up, get the ice cream, get the fucking money, get the shit. And, you know, like, we was kids. So
did you guys steal the money and the ice cream?
They stole the money. I ain't getting no goddamn money. Like, hindsight, I was like, damn, why I ain't getting none of that? Where that money go or whatever?
How many ice creams can you even carry, dude?
I had fucking like 15 fucking bars. And I brought some back for my brothers and for our other cousins and shit.
And if this is during the summer, right now we're in a Houston heat wave. I can imagine just you running away.
We was running with
ice cream dripping down your arms, dude.
Well, they had the packages on them, you know what I mean? But we was just fucking, we was booking it, bro. But yeah, so I know I could have got into some of that shit, and it would have progressively got worse, you know what I mean? But wrestling, I really feel like wrestling kept me on a path to where like, oh man, I gotta keep my grades together because I'm fucking wrestling, you know? I wanna fucking go to state, or I wanna do this thing, you know?
We're getting acclimated to Houston. The last few days we've been doing videos in different parts of Houston and Texas. What part of Houston did you grow up in, and what was it like?
Yeah, so I grew up in Acres Home.
Is that north or south side?
It's kind of north side. Yeah.
Okay, that's not 5th or 3rd Ward, is it?
No, that's not 5th or 3rd Ward. 5th Ward is kind of semi-north.
Okay.
But Acres Home is a little bit north or northern.
How was it there? That sounds hot. If you guys are robbing the ice cream truck, it sounds hot over there, dude.
I mean, it's hot. It's Texas. It's hot. It's you know what I'm saying? I feel like it was pretty fucked up for a while. But you know what I'm saying? It was on Force 48 a lot of times. Like it's fucking. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know Acres Home. If you say Fofo from the Fofo or Acres Home, like people know. But I'm realizing, like as I grow up, we was hood as fuck over there, but we was also country as fuck. Like
it's a weird mix around here.
Yeah, it's weird, and I didn't know that until I like left fucking Houston. Like I didn't know like how fucking unique, you know what I mean? Like we got fucking, it's like goats tied up, you know what I mean? Like they dogs and shit. Like people, I see a goat tied up by his horn to a tree in somebody's yard. Like we all got horses.
We got to see some of that.
I used to break horses as a child. You know, my grandpa, that's what he did for a living. He used to break horses.
Walk people through what breaking horses is.
So breaking horses is pretty much, so there's a horse is wild, you know. It's just training.
You guys are catching wild horses, dude?
So they get a wild horse. Whatever you buy a horse that
hasn't been trained yet.
That hasn't been trained to ride. You know what I mean? So it's a horse that hasn't been trained to ride. So what you do is you pretty much, they call it breaking because you breaking the spirit like out of them.
You're making them listen to you.
Making them listen to you, making them not buck. You know what I mean? And making them able to ride, like docile enough to fucking ride.
That sounds kind of scary because I was afraid of horses when I was a kid because they're so big and powerful.
Bro, I was fucking scared too. My grandpa was a fucking G. He used to punch horses in the mouth. Like he would do the shit sometimes while because he would use us sometimes to like once he did like most of the breaking or whatever, he would like tie him to a trailer. And then he'd be like, hey, I'm going to put you on this thing. You just hang on. And he just like try to like, he like scared enough to where it was like calm. You know what I mean? So like it would like buck, but it could only buck so much because it had the fucking
the rope on its mouth.
The rope tied to the fucking trailer, so it couldn't like buck this way, but it just would fucking kick, and he'd be like, just hang on to the mane or hang on to the neck. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't even put a saddle on it.
No, we would have a saddle sometimes, but sometimes it would be just. Sometimes it wouldn't be a saddle. Sometimes we get the horn or whatever. But it was.
Did you ever almost get really hurt doing that?
My brother got fucking but this wasn't even like a break-in session. This was like. I was just leading the horse, you know, down or around the land or whatever, and it was like an event or we was just there for a barbecue or something, and I'm walking the horse or whatever, and then my cousin fucking like named Roro fucking like whipped at the horse, just like tried to scare it, but just was like playing, and then the horse fucking freaked out and fucking took off running or whatever, and I had to let go because it dragged me for a little bit, and then my brother was on the horse, and then he freaking fell off or whatever, hit his head. But we haven't had, like, that's the only bad thing. It wasn't like, I mean, he hit his head, he probably lost his brain cells. But.
And to think, like, where you are now with wrestling, jiu-jitsu, fighting, like, being on a horse is not too different than taking someone's back and trying to take the neck.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. We used to ride horses religiously, and you know, and it probably like helped me gain some like balance in that respect, you know. Did you kind of grow up in two different worlds? Like on one end, you were growing up in an area where people were robbing ice cream trucks, but then when you go to your grandpa's house, you were totally country. No, but that's in the same place.
What
I'm saying? This is the same neighborhood. That's why I'm like it's like ghetto and country all mixed in one. Like all this shit is like a rural area and fucking inner city all in one in Acres Home.
That sounds like a place that you can make a TV show about.
Yeah, they probably do got fucking TV show. I think it's like the largest or the first kind of black-owned neighborhood, or you know, inner city neighborhood.
Was your grandpa a farmer, or his job was I'm the horse breaker farmer? You bring him to me, I'm gonna give him back. They're gonna listen.
So my grandpa had his name was Bubba. He had my actual son.
So that's where your son.
My son is named after. That's his nickname. His nickname was Bubba. His real name was Earl Williams. But he used to he lived on the back of a plot. They had a plot of land where I think my great grandma or his mom and then his sister lived in like some houses, and then he lived in the back with his house. And he had like a stable. He had like, you know, a couple chickens, and he would just break horses. That's how he was a cowboy. They're also, you know, they would have like trail rides and like they would have trail rides through like the inner city. You know what I mean? So like through the neighborhood, people would have horses and music and food and shit like through you think like a ghetto neighborhood. We riding horses through them.
Someone's driving through with a swanger, and then you're just on a horse.
Straight up, somebody on the swanger, somebody in cars driving by. They call them trail rides, and they just like cruising through the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
That sounds like a really fun childhood,
Bro,
dude.
it was fun. It was fun. We loved our grandpa. It was fucking amazing, bro. It was so fun. Like every time we got to spend the night over there, it was fucking a fun time. Cause he also didn't really care what the fuck we did. Like
so it's like when you go to grandpa's, you get into wild shit.
Yeah, we could get into some wild shit. Yeah, so it was a fun time.
Did you ever like do anything crazy on a horse? Like I'm gonna ding dong ditch your house and then go off on the horse. Or I'm gonna
no.
take.
So he wouldn't. This the only thing. He wouldn't let us just take the horses. You know what I mean? At free will.
It wasn't like stealing your parents' car.
Yeah, I couldn't just steal the horses. Like we could ride it around, kind of in the. And we were little at the time too. You know, we were probably like my youngest brother was probably around like 6, and I was probably 10, 11, you know what I mean? So he wouldn't let me just take the fucking horse anywhere. Like I can ride it with him watching, but he would beat the shit out of us if we did something like that.
Dude, what is it about that older generation? Like I'm hearing two different things. One is that your grandpa punched a horse. That's one of like the famous stories in my family is that my great grandpa, like Grandpa Seaward, he got mad at a horse and he punched it so hard that he knocked it out. And I'm like, that's some strong Polish shit right there.
That's when he did it. I was like on the horse, and it was like the horse was named Midnight, and he was like come here or do something. And the horse was like had an attitude, and he like literally fucking punched the horse in the mouth. I heard the smack like while I was on it, and I was scared as shit because I was like, bro, I'm on this motherfucker. Don't like piss it off. I'm scared. Like you might not be scared, but I'm scared as hell right now. You know,
a horse is the wrong animal to
piss off, bro.
It's just too powerful.
Hell yeah, bro. That's what I'm saying. And it's like it was a huge fucking horse. You know.
What was it about you think that era? Like I feel like as parenting has changed over time, it went from like, oh, you messed up, like. I think when my pop was a kid, like you'd be like, my grandpa would be like, pick out a stick. Like you'd have to like bring your own stick inside or stuff like that. And like I feel like each generation has like de-escalated that a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you think, like most of human history, we just like would do crazy shit to our kids? Like, what do you think, why that changed over time?
I mean, I think, I have this conversation with my wife, because I'm a proponent of whippings or beating your child. I just think, pain adds a certain fear factor, and fear is like a quick way to get, I guess a response or discipline out of kids, like if
you can count to 3 with a kid, or you can say if this happens you're gonna get whooped, spanked, and and
that registers different. I feel like it's a sense of, because also I feel like they should have a sense of urgency, and I feel like pain creates that sense of urgency to do the right thing. You know what I mean? Whereas like if they got to think about it and they got options, the more options they have, the more times it takes to listen to you. For example, if and this is the example I use. I tell my kid like, hey, don't go in that tall grass, or stop, don't go in that tall grass. As he's thinking about doing it, if I go over there and I smack his butt or something, he associates that with, oh, hey, I better, whatever he's saying, I better listen, right? I better stop and really think about this, because pain is associated,
I remember growing up so we got spanked growing up, and it would be like we were home with my mom, and if we did something, it was like when Pop gets home from work, like and like just the terror, like the build up to like that. Even if it took 3 hours for him to get home, like the whole time you're nervous, you're just like, should I wear
was this worth it? Fuck yeah.
And then as soon as he got home, like just like started mounting, and then like it was always over within like a minute or less.
Yeah.
It was almost like a relief when it was over, because it was like half of like the punishment was like the nervousness of getting it, rather than the actual like. Straight it wasn't like you couldn't move the next day pain. It was just like ow, 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 and then like cry for a second or two, and then it was like. And you definitely
let me fucking
whatever the rule was that you broke. The next time you thought about that, like it was like, oh yeah,
I got whipped for that the last time. And it's different, I think now, people think about. They say like if you know better, you do better. So they associate like the whoopings with trauma and like making a kid scared of you and stuff like that, which I just feel like I think it's a healthy thing to have a healthy fear your parents. My kid told me the other day, because he was like, his mom was like, hey, why don't you listen to me sometimes? And he was like, well, I'm not scared of you. I'm scared of Dad. And I was like, good, or whatever. She was like, you happy he's scared of you? And I was like, I mean, if it get the job done, I know he loves me, and I know, like, when we play, we're going to play.
It's not a fear, like, every time you walk around there like this, but it's, if I do something, I know something's going to happen.
Exactly. And for instance, if you walking in the street and I need you to fucking stop or your life is in danger, I need you to be scared of me. You know, I need you to have a quick response, you know? Being a black man in America, like, you gonna have to have some healthy fear of a bunch of shit, you know? And I can't have you just, you know, willy-nilly fucking thinking you fucking invincible out here, you know what I mean? And if I tell you something, I need you to do it then, you know? So... yeah,
I think, like, because I'm going to have a baby boy in January. So I got to ask you advice about that. But one thing I was thinking about is, like, when you're bringing up your kid, there's a lot that you have to decide. Like people will say something is child abuse. Like, some people might say that is child abuse. But to me, it's like, if someone, I open up their fridge and it's full of, like, Mountain Dews and cereal, like, sugar, and their kid is obese at 6 years old. That to me,
that's child abuse. That's the same. I mean,
one spank, they're not gonna that's not gonna affect them for the rest of their life. But if they're fat as a kid,
that's true. Yeah.
So it's interesting, like, when people are gonna make opinions of other people's parenting, like, which ones are like, oh, I can be like that. There was the running back Adrian Peterson of the Vikings. Yeah. He got into big trouble for, I think it was spanking his kids.
Yeah.
Like, it was like a front page media thing that he had to endure. And yet there's, like, it's interesting where we draw the line. Well, I can call this behavior out, but not this.
But I can sit them in front of a iPad and let them fucking watch endless amounts of whatever, you know, on
They
YouTube.
ruin their attention span, their creativity, their ability to focus.
But that's not child abuse, you know. And me, you know, getting his attention with some pain is like it's child abuse. I don't know. And I'm still figuring it out, you know. I'm figuring out, like, because I feel like there's some validity to, you know, like whooping a child past like what they need. Like, if you're making them bleed, or if you know, causing damage and stuff like that. Like,
or you hear stories where people got hit with the buckle end of the belt. Like, that just like Dad was a maniac, dude. Like, Dad was drunk, and Dad was crazy.
Yeah, that's not like the parent fucking trying to, you know, hurt them. But I do think they need a healthy fear of their parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost, if you look at it in a religious way, like a lot of Christians be like, you know, fear of God. When you're a kid, your parents are like kind of God in a way. Yeah. Like, you have to obey them. Yeah. Like, if they control your whole world.
Straight up.
And so, like, I think fear, I don't know. I guess there could be a debate. Should your kid have a healthy fear of you? But I would say, like, everything my parents did that I thought was over the top, or they were never over the top, like, you know, hit me or anything, but like, oh, you can't see this movie because it's PG-13 or R, or like, anytime, like, the stuff that I was mad about that they were strict about, afterwards I'm like, you know what, like, they were watching out for me. And,
so kids, like, their understanding is a little different, you know? So I agree that you could get there. You could get, you know, the respect of your child. You can get them to understand things are dangerous. Like, that's why I wanted you to get them. But their understanding is like, is not there. Fear is like the best or the fastest way, I should say. And some people say, like, oh man, you taking the easy route or whatever. And I'm saying, like, for now, I'm gonna use this fear because it's gonna get the job done. You know what I mean? If I have to explain to him, hey man, no, you don't walk in that grass because it could be snakes there, it could be, you know, stuff there. Like, that's harder to do. You know what I mean? And I don't have the time to do it.
At a certain age, they just have to.
Yeah, and for certain
situations.
Certain situations, like, you walk in the street, like, hey, I need you to pay attention. Like, you know, somebody is trying to, or you hopping in somebody's car, I need you to know, hey, you can't do that. You know what I mean? So,
I look at it like so, and the other thing is like our kids, we love more than anything on earth. It's not like so. And right now, my kid is my dog Frank, and when he was a puppy, he's a rambunctious little bastard. And so like he would try nip at you or do things, and we tried like my wife doesn't totally agree with how I did some of this stuff, but like we would try like the turn away and say no, and if it worked, I would have. But
exactly,
I think it took like smacking him on the butt like 3 times for him to be like, oh, I don't do that.
Yeah.
And now our relationship is he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
You know?
And not to say I don't only spank, and me and my wife are doing the same thing. Like we're trying to figure it out. So we're doing timeouts. I always said like, I'm all for, timeouts. I'm all for not spanking. But if it comes to a point where that's not working, we need to escalate.
Yes.
Like, I'm escalating on certain things, you know what I mean? But I always start with like, hey, okay, I'll tell you, hey, don't do that. You know what I mean? Listen, don't do that. But if it comes a thing where you don't respect the thing that I'm telling you, then, it'll take time, but you're going to get your ass whipped, at some point.
So let's go back full circle.
Okay.
To your sophomore, junior in high school, starting wrestling.
Yeah.
You became a national champ in 5 or 6 years after that, which is absurd, which means my guess is that you were good right off the bat.
Yeah, I was pretty good right off the bat. I was also, I dived in,
And what's the Texas wrestling scene like?
Texas wrestling is not very good.
Because in the South, it's weak, right?
Yeah, it's pretty weak nationally. So I was lucky because I had a coach that was from Illinois. No, he was maybe South Dakota. He was from South Dakota, and I had another coach that was from Kansas. So that was one thing. I had like a really good coaching staff, like from the beginning. Yeah. So and a lot of the people in Texas, they didn't have that. So I was able to start like really good, and we had like I think like 2 nationally ranked wrestlers, which was not like that wasn't the case in any Texas school. So I was blessed. It was Shane Duffman and Cody. What was his last name? I forget. That's gonna piss me off. But I had those 2. So
were they around your weight?
They were around my weight. So
that's the recipe right there.
I was at 145, and then one of them was at 140, and then one of them was like a 30-pounder or something.
So did you get in the practice room? Did you kind of get the shit kicked out of you for the first couple years?
Yeah, I definitely in the practice room. I got the shit kicked out of me because it was also I didn't start like right away, but I was like good enough to compete or whatever once I figured out, what we were doing. I was like athletic and I was fast and I was, I picked it up really, I was aggressive. So I picked it up like really fast.
But being in the room with those 2 kids, I'm imagining that you acclimated very quickly to a level.
Exactly.
Because I remember going to college and, in my high school room, I could dominate most of the kids in there that were around my weight. And then I get to college. I couldn't score on anybody for like 3 weeks. And then somehow something turned right after that. And then all of a sudden I caught up and then I could start,
surpassing. Yeah.
And it's crazy how, like, I wonder, like, okay, if I would have...
environment, how you, like, you push yourself to at least that level,
I guess it's not that different than the saying that you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. It's probably you're the average of the 5 people you practice with.
That's true.
If you have 5 puds that you're just beating up on when you go out and compete...
there's not much room for improvement. There's not much room for growth,
So how deep do you think a fight gym has to be? Because you have some guys that are like, it's all animals, all killers. It's so deep in that room. And then you have guys that they're almost doing their own show a little bit, where it's like...
I think it's a mixture. So a gym, I think you gotta have like good guys, to be able to push you. But you also have to have the attention, so people could or people can focus on you. Gym can't be so big that you don't get any attention.
You get lost in the shuffle.
You get lost in the shuffle. So nobody's like tracking your improvement. You know what I mean? So you gotta have a mixture of both. You got to have people that are able to push you, you know what I mean? So you can or the coaches or whoever's around you can take note of the mistakes you make, the things you're doing well. But you also have to it has to be small enough to where you get attention and focus to somebody like tracking where you're at, you know what I mean? And how you're progressing and the things that you need. So I think it's a happy medium. So those big gyms are great if you're like at the top or whatever, and then you're getting the attention, you know?
Because otherwise you're kind of the punching bag, right?
Exactly. You're the punching bag. You're the guiney pig.
Hey, we need you for this drill. Come over here for a second.
You're just, if you are good at certain skills, you're being used for those certain skills.
Oh, he's the wrestler. Like, you're going to defend takedowns and you have to eat some shots. And like
exactly. So you're not like improving on the things you're not good at, you know what I mean? Whereas if you're in a smaller gym, you kind of have to be everybody, and everybody's kind of, or they got more time to focus on your improvement, you know what I mean? You don't have to just be you. You can be somebody else, which will improve your skills as somebody else. So I don't necessarily like the huge gyms. I like the smaller gyms with good training partners.
So you've gotten to, I guess let me ask you this first. You're transitioning to striking. I did just a little bit of it, and I never have gotten comfortable yet. Like just because I haven't practiced enough, but like to me, like grappling, I can go full go and it's going to be okay. But like if I got stuck in a kickboxing workout, and I remember there's one guy, like, there's one guy that, like, every time, like, he kicks me in the stomach and it sucks. And, like, I wish I could just take him down, because that's how I felt. Like, in MMA sparring, it was like, well, if he hurts me on my feet, like, he knows that I can take him to the ground. But if it's only kickboxing, it was just like, how did you transition to the striking world?
I think it's just like you said, like, the more you do it, the more you're comfortable.
Was it scary at first, like, or uncomfortable?
At first it was super scary because you can get knocked out, you can get hurt, and it's a lot of pain. It's a lot more, I feel like, sharp pains equated with striking. You know, like you get punched and you get like kicked hard to the body. Whereas grappling is like just a grinding, positionally tired type of
grappling
pain.
Is way more exhausting, and striking you actually can get hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's what makes it scary. But I think once I figured out that, or how to like navigate that and then be calm in that, or accepting of like, okay, hey, I'm gonna get hit, or hey, I'm gonna get hurt, or you know what I mean? I just need to minimize, how much he can hurt me, or I need to get good at defense, you know what I mean? So then he can't really touch me, Once I figured that out, I feel like then I can like relax my shoulders, and then, as they say, like loose is fast. Like you're a lot better if I'm like super tight, and this is exhausting too, to stay here for, to just be scared all the time, but once you accept the fact, like that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to try to hit me. He's supposed to try to, do things, and it's up to me to like navigate that. I feel like that's when I was able to, like get better at striking.
Do you think, well, I guess let's talk about culture differences between wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and maybe it goes into the greater fight world as well. But I know in the wrestling world, in the summer, it's like train everywhere you can. Yeah. Go here, go there, go to camps, learn it, and then bring it back. In jiu-jitsu, it's a little bit more like, if you're a Gracie, you stay with the Gracies. Yeah. Like you don't go to that gym, especially not that guy. I don't like that guy. Like,
I don't like him, so everything he does is wrong. And that's, I don't know what that like. I think it's like maybe the jiu-jitsu like structure to make money, or like structure for schools or whatever. You think
part of it's like they feel like these are the superior techniques. We're gonna teach you in this. Like
we
branch of knowledge, and that's the inferior form.
Exactly. I think that's what the ultimately that's what, like, you stick here because we have the best route to success. That route is not our route. So it's probably inferior to ours.
Maybe we can talk about some of the culture changes too of going from wrestling to jiu-jitsu. Like, one thing that I noticed right off the bat is, like, in the wrestling world, if you're the best guy in the room and I'm like, hey, let's go live, that's like a compliment. Like, this guy wants to challenge me, but you can't point at a jiu-jitsu black belt and say, I want to go with you. They have to call you. Yeah. Which I like the respect of the sport, but I also like the wrestling. Like, what did you notice?
That wrestling, I feel like, is more kind of not savage, but
You dominate people.
Yeah, you dominate. You looking to be the best by going through the best. You know what I mean?
Like if you went through a season and your practice partner didn't score a point on you all season, there was no like, oh, sorry about that. But in jiu-jitsu, it is a little bit more. You can still go hard, but it's a little bit more like we're flowing or like we're.
Jiu-jitsu is more like you're in the position because of the time that you've been here. So it's like the respect is like, oh, I'm respecting them because they put more time in to jiu-jitsu, more time into the art. Whereas like wrestling is like, you get it how you live, kind of. You you know what I mean? Like if I come in here and I can beat the shit out of you, I can beat the shit out. I'm the dude now. You know what I mean? Whereas jiu-jitsu is more. You respect rank. More your more rank. Yeah, I would say.
Do you think, because jiu-jitsu is wildly popular, I feel like, I don't know if you look at the numbers of like, if we could measure how many people are enrolled in jiu-jitsu and how many people are enrolled in wrestling, but do you think if we were to like find ways to increase the popularity of youth wrestling, do you think a belt system would be helpful, or would that ruin part of the sport?
You know, I don't know. I feel like a lot of schools are going to the belt system because it's like it favors, I think, monetarily. I think.
Well, people are hooked on progress, and in wrestling, you could be there for 5 years or 10 years, and there's no symbol of I guess that's the tournaments true, you win is the symbol. But if you walk in, you're like a black belt in judo, jiu-jitsu. You're like, oh man, like this guy's been there, done that. He's earned the stripes. You know. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, there is. There's no freaking. There's nothing in wrestling. I don't know if that would help it or not. I don't know. And how would you rank it?
Yeah,
just like how many
if you can do a half Nelson, you're a blue belt. Like how do you?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, because you don't know if a dude is good or not. Like if like two wrestlers stand there, whatever, they're suited or whatever, you never know who. Yeah. You wouldn't know, you know.
I always noticed this, like when I'd be warming up, if there was a kid in high school with a tattoo, he was either gonna be really good or really shitty.
Yep, yeah.
And it's also like it's weird how you measure. Like certain guys look really strong, and I would think like, okay, he's gonna be strong for the first period, but he's gonna gas because that much muscle, like they're gonna be huffing and puffing. Like I think that's something that's interesting about wrestling is when you're sizing each other up, like. Even the pre-match, like to me, my ritual was this, and this would not fly in the jiu-jitsu world as much either, is like pace and like try and make eye contact with the guy and act like you're because I feel like you almost have to put like another face on.
Yeah.
At least me, I can't compete when I'm really like, I can't like, I've had it where people like, they come up and talk to you before the match. Like, hey brother, like I can't compete like that.
Yeah.
And so like, do you feel like you have to like almost put your warrior face on?
You know, I never thought about that type of stuff, you know? I feel like I was just so focused on trying to learn the wrestling, you know, at the time. Like, I felt like I was like fighting for my life every time that I was like wrestling. I didn't even think about, looking at the opponent, or I didn't even know about that stuff. I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go wrestle.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my turn? Okay, I'm wrestling now. Okay, who am I wrestling? Oh, this guy. Must be this guy, you know? I remember the first time I wrestled somebody that was like, it just like screwed up my head too, because like, I did the same thing. I would look at people and I'd be like, oh, okay, like he don't look that strong, you know? So I'm gonna be able to, I'll be able to beat him up or whatever. And then there was this one guy who had a mohawk. Or whatever. God. He had a wrestling tattoo, but I didn't know about wrestling tattoos at the time.
USA wrestling one?
He had the USA wrestling like on his shoulder. And he was like lanky or whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm about to beat the shit out of this dude. This dude is a fucking nerd. I'm about to fuck him up or whatever. And I went out there and he just fucking cradled me up in like fucking like 30 seconds or some shit. And I went off the mat like, fuck, I don't like know who is good or not. Like, how the fuck do I know who is good or not, you know? And he was like a state champion. Fucking, yeah, but I had no idea. I had no idea how to even like gauge it. And so from there, and this is like my senior year. This is my senior year, and I'm like,
how good were you by your senior year?
So by my junior year, I had made it to state.
Wow, qualified first year.
I qualified for state, but my grades was fucked up. Like, I was in honors or whatever, but then when my mom passed, I was like, fuck grades, fuck all this. I'm going to just do fucking wrestling. You know, like, okay, I'll do wrestling, but fuck this other shit. I ain't doing none of this shit or whatever. And then I qualified for state, and then they were like, yeah, well, you can't go to state because you failed this past report card. And I was like, oh, shit, I need my grades. I need at least, okay, well, I'm going to just do the grades, and then I'll do wrestling or whatever. So my senior year, I made it to state again, but I, like, passed. And so at this point, I was like, I had beat, like, a state champion.
Your second year wrestling, you beat a state champ.
In my second year, I wrestled him like 2 times. I beat him. He beat me the first time. I beat him the second time, and then it was like back and forth, and then he beat me at state. And then I got like 6 at state my senior year. And
then you went to wrestle at one of the top D2 schools in the nation.
Yeah. So
how'd you find your way there?
So I actually started, one of my coaches I said was from Kansas. I started at a junior college because I was getting like calls because I had then wrestled at Fargo and stuff like that. I was on Team Texas, and so I got like calls from like OU. I got calls from like a couple other D1 schools, but then they found out I fucked my grades up or whatever, and so nobody was like offering me scholarships. And so I ended up going to a junior college because I could get my school paid for.
What was this? What school was this?
This was Labette.
Okay, because there's some real good JUCO wrestling.
Yeah, this was probably one of the top 3 in the nation. Labette. I think we won, or they had won the year before I had got there. And so
I feel like junior college wrestling has got to be, you got crazy stories because
you
have these kids that a lot of them probably should be D1.
Yep, exactly.
But then got into trouble, got grades.
Yep,
so you're dealing with like a group of like misfits that are amazing at wrestling and their first time in college drinking and like going crazy.
Bro, so I went to Labette, right? My first year there, I know it's a guy by the name of Timmy Elliott. He's a UFC fighter. There's Chance Rencounter. He's a Bellator fighter. I think he fought in the UFC also. And then Joseph Cornejo, right? So I'm the young. I was young, but they were like the older. I feel like they was the thugs of the team, you know. Fuck it, I heard it, but before I came in, Timmy Elliott was like having high speed chases with fucking the cops. And then I heard the coach got him off or whatever, and that's how he got him here because he told his dad like, "Hey, we gon' get him in school and get him on the right track." But this motherfucker was crazy. Chance Rencounter. It's my first college party, right? And they was like, "Hey, Rafion, you gonna come with us? We're gonna go to this baseball party." And I was like, "Oh, bet."
You guys got in a brawl, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, but it's crazy. It wasn't even a brawl really because Chance Rencounter is a big guy. We go to the party and we like talking and hanging out or whatever. I'm kind of nervous or whatever. This is my first party. I'm the only black person there, Like, this is like a small town in Kansas, southeast Kansas.
They're bumping country music at the party, and you're like...
They bumping country music. We kind of in the cornfields, kind of, Like, it was like a... kind of like a hotel situation where they was using as like a dorm, but it was like fucking fields of wheat and shit around us or whatever. So I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I ain't never been to a party like this. Like, what bitches dancing? Like, what?
And they're all
doing?
wearing overalls.
Yeah,
and you're like, what the hell?
There, we sitting there, they drinking and fucking. I'm like, who gonna roll me up?
Everyone is dipping right now.
Yeah, and so. Fucking Chance, I like watch the encounter. He fucking walks up to this dude or whatever and pretty much says like, "Hey, I like your girl," or "I like this girl," or whatever. And he was like, "Bro, chill out. Like, this is my girlfriend." And he was like, "No, it's my fucking girlfriend now." Chance said this to the fucking baseball player. The baseball player got mad, of course, because like you fucking calling out his girl. He like charge him up or whatever, like say like, "Hey, what's up, man? Y'all gonna have to get out of here." Chance deck him in the face. I watched the dude fucking fall down and his mouth is closed, but his teeth is sticking out of his mouth. And Chance or Timmy and Joe was like, "Yo, Rafion." Okay, so the other thing was I didn't drink I didn't drink at all because I've never needed to drink or whatever. And it was like something, my mom's mom was a crackhead, so she got me to not do drugs or whatever.
You saw it firsthand enough to say, I'm not.
Yeah, I saw it firsthand enough, and I did that kind of out of respect to my mom or whatever. So I didn't drink. So they were like, Rafion, hey, you gonna fucking drive. You gotta drive us back, bro, because the cops gonna come. We gotta get the fuck out of here. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, fuck. I guess I'll drive or whatever. I was like, but I don't know where the fuck I'm going. I don't know how we got here. I'm like, we're in the fucking cornfield. I don't know where. He's like, yeah, we're going to drive through these motherfuckers, and then we're going to get home. And I'm like, okay, fuck, all right. And so they like telling me where to go. I'm fucking on this dirt road, fucking driving back to the kind of the city. I say it's the city, but it's like one street light in this goddamn town.
One IHOP, one hotel. That's
yeah,
the city.
One hotel. It's a Walmart. That's the fucking store that everybody go to, and it's fucking like 20 minutes away or whatever. But yeah, so we fucking go to this goddamn. We go home or whatever. But that's my first. What's the name? And I'm scared the whole next couple weeks. Like, fuck.
Police are gonna come.
Yeah, they gonna come fucking looking for me.
The getaway driver's right over here.
Exactly. I'm the getaway driver. But yeah, that's my first fucking story in a goddamn at Labette. You know.
I don't know about you, but to me there was this like sense of power and invincibility in college when you went to a party with the wrestlers, dude.
Yeah,
it felt like we just owned everything because you literally felt so relaxed that no one is beating us up.
Yeah, straight up.
It was an amazing feeling,
bro. It was, and again, this is my first time at a college party, but first time like hanging with wrestlers because I ain't hang with wrestlers in Houston, you know? Like I had the group of friends that I had, like I never went to their parties. I went to like hood parties. That's what the lights is off, everybody fucking booty dancing on a girl, you know what I'm saying? People is smoking weed in the back. Like that's what I'm used to. So we go to this party and these motherfuckers is just ready to beat the shit out of everybody. And they want somebody to say something to them. They want somebody to say something about them. And I'm like, fuck, this is different, bro. That shit is, you do feel comfortable like, damn, ain't nobody gonna say shit.
But you always have the kid on the team that like is looking for it,
bro.
Like every day I would wake up and it'd be like, yep, Matt Adcock beat someone up again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. They be ready. And it's crazy. Yeah, but that was my introduction into I feel like college. How
do people back home feel about wrestling? Because I feel like one of the things that I encounter is like to spread wrestling to the hood is first people think it's gay.
Yeah.
Second, they see you wearing a singlet and they're like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, straight
up.
Like
how were you received? And like, did people think it was cool? Did people think you were kind of weird? Like, how was that?
Yeah, I don't feel like I didn't get the gay comments. People were like, again, they didn't know kind of what it was or whatever, and they was like, "Oh, yeah, Rafion, you wrestling now?" And I was like, "Yeah, like that's what I'm doing." And they were kind of cool about it or whatever. They did think the singlets was fucking weird. I thought the singlets was weird when
it is kind of weird.
I mean, it was. It felt like fucking weird to like put on these.
No other sport
onesie,
has such like a tight like
like
the outline of your wieners there, like
straight up. Like it's a revealing fucking thing. I feel like and it was also like we didn't get a lot of fucking like nobody's coming out to my wrestling events, so it was almost like a thing that I did like on the side.
It was almost like underground, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. Like I would go to these wrestling events and then I fucking hang out. You know what I mean?
I remember going downstairs. I had an old singlet, and I went downstairs and like in front of my wife, and she just said, "Ew." She thought it was like the grossest thing that a guy could wear.
Yeah.
She was because I don't want to see you like that.
Wait, she from Wisconsin, your wife?
She's from Minnesota, and she never was in the wrestling world.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like she still thinks like I had this one crazy encounter with this tenant that we got this place and there's these two people living, and like usually I like to buy them empty so I can pick by people so I know who they are. And this lady, I can't say her name, but this lady was crazy. Like within a week of getting there, the downstairs neighbor sent me a phone video of this lady. Like she's built like a linebacker, and she's like pounding on the door like, "I'm gonna beat your ass, bitch!" Like she had like the crazy, she had a deeper voice than me. And Sarah's like, Yeah, she could beat you up. Like, she doesn't understand the wrestling or jiu-jitsu world. I was like, Sarah, that's a woman, first of all. And two, I've done this a little bit. Like,
yeah, like I'm not fucking incompetent. I'm a wrestler. Yeah, I can handle myself in an altercation. That's crazy. Yeah, no, I don't feel like my friends really, like, nobody like really made fun of me. I don't feel like, unless they were doing it behind my back. Everybody was just like, yeah, Rafion, you do the wrestling. And then every now and then, you know, I get my name called on the fucking, what's the name? And people are like, oh, you wrestle? And I'm like, oh yeah, I wrestle.
So you're with this kind of crew of outlaws.
Oh yeah,
in Labette. Tell me some of the wilder stories that you encountered as a college man.
So as a college man, you know, as a black college man, moving from Houston. So that's the other thing. So I'm moving from this big city, right? So Houston, like, I feel like when I was growing up, I would never see the same person twice. You know what I mean? Like, it's rare that I would see, you know, like a stranger. It's rare that I'm gonna see him again. So I got this understanding. Like, I would do this all the time. I just talk shit to random people and be like, I ain't gonna never see that motherfucker again. Fuck this dude. What the fuck is this? Like, fuck you.
But in Labette, you see them tomorrow, then the next day, then the day after.
I'm at Labette. This is my first year, and we in a parking lot or whatever. Like, the parking lot behind our house, it was a gas station. The house we would hang out at is a gas station. So we in the parking lot talking, like, before we go our separate ways or go to the house. And then some old bitch fucking pull up to the goddamn like the parking lot is empty. She want to park in the spot that we talking at or whatever. She's like honking, like, get out the way or whatever. And then I was like, oh bitch, why don't you move and park over here? You see all these goddamn parking spots. You want to park where the fuck we standing? Take your old ass in the goddamn store. Like, stop. He's like, Sir, do you play football here? I'm like, yeah, bitch, I play football. Or it was basketball.
Yeah, bitch.
I play basketball here. Yeah, okay, whatever. You gonna go to the school? Whatever, bitch. Go about your business or whatever. And then she went into the store, she came back out, like, yeah, get your stupid ass on, or whatever. And then, so the next day. The next day, my coach called me and was like, hey, Rafion, I need to talk to you before practice. Like, come up to my, and his practice was like upstairs before the practice room. And I was like, oh, okay.
Did you have any idea why you were being called?
I didn't even think this was like possible for this bitch to find me. Like, I forgot I had did the shit. I was like, nah, that was weird, that fucking old bitch or whatever. Like, okay, whatever. And then I was like, oh man, maybe I fucking, you know, like maybe one of my grades is bad or something. And so I went up there and then I walked to his office and I see this bitch here and I'm like, my heart dropped. I was like, what the fuck? This bitch found me? Shit. So I sit down and then he was like, so, you know, the pastor's wife, fucking
oh God, Rafion.
Miss Sadie, you know her or whatever. This is my pastor's wife. And I was like, no, for real? He was like, yeah. So what's gonna happen is I heard about your altercation. You're gonna do community service for Miss Sadie and her fucking and her church. Like, for the next 5 weeks, you're gonna do community service. So you're gonna be working closer with. And she was like, yes, and I can't wait. I hope you you show that you more respectable than our first altercation or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, my bad. I didn't know or whatever. And he was like, yeah. And then like she left and he was like, what the fuck? You fucking dumbass, like, what you doing? I'm like, bro, I didn't think I was gonna see that lady. I didn't even think she was, like, I wouldn't have thought she was your pastor's wife. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I gotta switch my fucking, like, how I operate in this goddamn town, because everybody know every goddamn body. That shit is crazy.
Was she a little bit entitled? Like, I'm the pastor's wife?
Yeah, or no. And I think that's what happened. She was like, we should move because we should know who she is or whatever. And, like, y'all kids stay in kids' places. You know what I mean? After the community service, she was, like, nice. You know what I mean? She was, like, nice to me. She wasn't, like, a bitch to me. You know what I mean?
Because one thing I've noticed about some churches is, like, they'll have special parking lots or parking spots right at the entrance for the first lady.
Yeah. And I haven't been to those big of churches.
Oh, like you're supposed to be sacrificing. I've seen it at like tiny little Baptist churches in Milwaukee where it's
and
like,
you need to be reverenced. Do
you need like a red carpet to walk into the church? Like why?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be serving Jesus and you get the best parking spot.
I feel like she was like, you know what I'm saying? Like I felt like she was a politician or something. You know what I mean? Because I mean, for her to fucking come up there and then request fucking. Like I was like cleaning up her church. I was fucking, stocking paper towels and shit in there. But this, like, for what? Because I cussed you out? But
5 weeks of free labor, huh?
Free labor, yeah, for sure, yeah.
So you're with this group of outlaws. You guys are taking over the town. You guys are punching people. You guys are wrestling. Like, give me some stories to give me a perspective of the time.
Yeah, so again,
and get a little closer to
my bad.
All good.
So we're in this small town. Let's see what else happened.
Like when you go on tournaments, what was that like? Like was it?
So in tournaments, So my coach was a pretty badass dude because he had to be because of the group of miscreants we were. You know what I mean? But he was somebody that the thug all of, like respect. Like for instance. Which I could probably say this. I don't know. So there we had we would party and he know we would party, you know what I mean? But he would say, hey, make sure there ain't no cops called, make sure, ain't no, foul play going on. Cause I'ma hear about it. And I was like, shit, he gonna hear about it. Don't you bet your bottom dollar, he'll know. But there was this one dude that was like, it was after he had won nationals. I won't mention his name. But after he had won nationals, he had went to a baseball game and he was like at the baseball game drunk, and then he was just being obnoxious at the baseball game and just like telling all the umpires. He was talking shit to our team, talking shit to the other team. It was a softball game. It was a softball game. Yeah, he was like saying stuff. And so they called our coach or whatever. And so our coach freaking came up to the game or whatever. And this was the 197-pound fucking champion. He just
he was a beast.
He was a beast, bro. He was a beast. I don't know if I should mention his name, but so he was at the baseball game, going off. And then coach came up to the baseball game, took him or whatever and was like, hey, if you can't go home or if you can't calm down, like me and you gonna have a talk. We're gonna go in this cornfield over here and me and you gonna have a talk or whatever. And then he was like, yeah, no, I can't calm down. What you gonna do to me? Like, I don't feel like I'm a national champion. Like, you didn't even place or whatever, some shit like that. Like,
how big was your coach?
My coach, he's probably like 200. He was like in shape, but he was like,
but big enough not just to be completely like pancaked by this guy.
No, for sure. No, not.
And he had old man strength.
And he had old man strength and crazy. He was crazy as a motherfucker. He would run for 1 hour workouts. We would run 3 miles to lift weights, then we'll do a weightlifting workout, then we run 3 miles back. Like that was what we do, like I think 2 or 3 times a week. And he would run with us and then be fucking talking shit, running backwards, fucking talking shit to us. So he was like, okay, well, let's have a conversation out in this cornfield away from everybody or whatever. He's like, okay, whatever. So he hopped in the car with him. We didn't nobody else. It was just them two or whatever. They walked or they drove to the cornfield or somewhere or whatever. And this motherfucker came back like fucked up. Fucking eyes was blacked. Fucking he was bleeding. He had like scrapes and shit all over or whatever. Cause this was after the baseball game was done. Like we was like, fuck, like what happened, bro? He was like, that motherfucker beat the shit out of me. that motherfucker beat the shit out of me. Wow. And then he just like sitting there fucking like bloodied up. And we was like, fuck, like we trapped here with this motherfucker. This is our goddamn.
So he got his respect that day.
Yeah, he definitely he had most of our respect before that. This was like the end of my first year. You know what I mean? That was the end of my first year. During my first year, the first what was that? The first party we had or whatever. One of the students was supposed to be, his leg was hurt. So he couldn't compete or whatever. So he was not supposed to be partying or whatever. He was supposed to be like working on getting better or whatever. But he like he missed something we were supposed to be doing. And then it had got back to the coach that he was partying. And so this dude went up to he like beeline because his office is upstairs, whatever. We like starting to practice. He's like he's beelining, and we was like, oh shit, somebody finna get it. Yeah, somebody finna get it. And he's like beelining down. He's beelining down, and then the guy that is like hurt is like sitting against the wall here, you know, like watching practice or whatever. And he freaking he was like, hey, ain't you supposed to be hurt? Ain't you supposed to be hurt, motherfucker? And he was like, yeah, like, what are you talking about? Okay. And then he showed him like a message like, why the fuck is you at this party? Why the fuck is you doing this or whatever? And then he fucking grabbed him by the neck, picked him up, and was like, I fucking trusted you. And then the assistant coach at this point was like, hey, everybody, hey, we gotta go. Let's go. It's time to go. Let's get up out of here. But that was the environment I was in, fucking like the dude was he was a great coach for a lot of us because, you know, a lot of us didn't really respect authority, but he like forced us to or whatever. I remember my first year there, I freaking they hand out the packets for you to like for fundraisers or whatever. And it's like you give these to your people or whatever. You give them to all the people, and whoever can donate or whatever. And I was like, I'm not gonna give it to nobody. Like, first of all, ain't nobody got no money. Ain't nobody finna give me no money for whatever the fuck you selling. And and so I think when we came back or whatever, it was like every week until you got it passed out. I think we had to give out emails and stuff, but he was like, okay, if you don't or whatever, we just gonna be doing punishment. And I was like, all right, whatever, y'all, what y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna have me do burpees for fucking an hour? Okay. But he had us I carried railroad ties like on my shoulders until I probably still got the scars on my shoulders. My shoulders was bleeding.
That's some like, David Goggins shit right there.
Bro, we was carrying railroad ties till we was bleeding. Like, and this is the dude, like, this is the dude we wasn't at. He found out somebody was, what they do? I don't know why he was pissed, but he was like, okay, everybody, since nobody fucking can listen to me or nobody can do what the fuck I want them to do, this is what I want. Everybody's gonna do a practice. We did a practice or whatever, and then after practice, we gonna sit here and fucking push-up position, I think, till somebody quits. Like, till three, he wanted, I think 3 people to quit. Till 3 people quit. And mind you, these are wrestlers, like, that have moved. They have moved here like with aspirations of being like a national champion. Like they came here just for wrestling. That's the only reason they here. And he's like, we gonna fucking sit here and push up position till 3 people quit. So at that time, we trying to find the weak motherfuckers, and we like, hey, you ain't gonna never fucking make it. You might as well fucking quit. We all trying to get out of fucking push-up position. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was my Labette.
Did 3 kids actually quit?
Yeah, no, they did. We couldn't leave. We was there for like, I think 2.5 hours, bro.
And they actually had to like pack their bags and
they had to pack their bags and go home. He made them leave. Yeah.
That is intense.
That's intense, bro. And yeah, and that was like like early on, that's when he gained my respect. I was like, yeah, this motherfucker is crazy, bro.
When coaches say we're not going until someone quits or rings the bell or whatever it is, like that's when hey, we're doing a grind match until someone quits.
Yeah, someone's quit. Yeah, I feel like it's such a mind fuck because it's like this is all they want, you know? This is what they want. So it's pretty much everybody's iron will against each other. You know what I mean?
Wrestling coaches, I think that's one thing that I love about the wrestling world is like the crazy punishments, the crazy practices. Like I remember when kids would mess up, they'd have to push a tennis ball around a track with their nose.
Oh,
so they're bear crawling, pushing it. Or we had these other things. We did carry plates over your head and run the stadiums and stuff like that. Like wrestling coaches have really unique ways to torture and keep the team in line.
Yeah, straight up, bro. Yeah, and like I said again, it was like fucking bunch of ex-cons. Nah,
it was like gridiron game, but wrestling style, basically.
Straight up, bro. Straight up. But yeah, so that was what my my Labette experience was, and that was a junior college, you know. So I was there for like I redshirted and then I wrestled 2 years there.
You survived 3 years at Labette.
3 years there. Yeah, it was insane, bro. Insane. Man. Yeah.
So you win 2 national titles.
Yeah. And I All-American while I was there. I All-American my first year. The second year I tore my meniscus, and then I made it to like the qualifier or the blood round.
So the only 2 years that you wrestled at was it Kearney or no Nebraska?
Yeah, Kearney. Mm-hmm.
The only 2 years you wrestled there, you won national title.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think it was, you know, in part because I needed that rest shirt year because, you know, I was so green or whatever, and that was my first time like getting whooped. Like, well, no, I had got whooped when I first started, but this was like a different level of wrestlers. Like,
was it miserable getting like that year of getting whooped your redshirt?
Yeah, it was miserable. Like,
did you almost think about quitting?
I never thought about quitting because I was like, I ain't really got nothing to go back to, you know. Because at this point too, my mom had passed. Like, I am one of my teammates is kind of like, or one of my teammates' parents is kind of like helping me out. So like I really didn't have like a home to go to back in back home.
So you like the ships were burned, like you had to pretty much take the island. There was no going back.
Yeah, there was no going back. Yeah, there was no going back. Like I had aunts, I had family and stuff back home, but it's nowhere that I'm like I can't stay nowhere, you know.
Wow. So because I think that's most people do quit that phase of wrestling. I think like of the 20 kids that started out in my freshman class at college, I think 2 of us went all 4 years consecutively, and then like maybe 3 or 4 of us did the red shirt and still made it. But most kids quit, including some of the best kids that were recruited.
Yeah.
And to me, it was almost like wrestling was so difficult. And I loved it so much. I was a kid that loved practice. Like I loved everything about it. I loved grinding, but after the last year, it was almost a relief. Like I never have to do one of those seasons again. It was almost like,
hell yeah.
For like sure. I did my time, I served, and I'm out, and I'm never coming back. I'm never.
Hey, same. I think about now, like, oh man, if I had to do 2-hour practices like that every day, man, that's a rough fucking.
So if people ask, which is harder, fight practices or wrestling practices, what would you say?
I would say wrestling practices because it's monotonous. It's just, you know, the same fucking thing, and it's like a constant grind. I would say
even the technique, the drilling side of it is still tough.
Yeah, it's tough, bro. The drilling is the hardest part for me. You know what I mean? Because it's like constant go as many as you can, constant, but it's like time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like as many as you can, and somebody's like watching over you to make sure you're like going every second. You know what I mean? Where we get a little more there's a little more leniency in drilling when you're at in fight practices.
I think it's hard to like convey the intensity of the wrestling world until a documentary I really want to do, but I don't think I'm ever going to be allowed in there is the Iowa Hawkeyes. I want to do a grind practice there. And I talked to their media guy, but I think they look at my channel and they think like I'm a maniac. So I don't think I'm going to be allowed in those rooms, but I wish
that would be great.
Give me 24 hours with the Brands brothers going in there, showing like a crazy practice and just like,
the monotony of the fucking just constant beating, you know, like some of the practices are called hammer practices, and like I heard a story like a dude fucking was just hitting himself in the hammer over and over again, and it's like supposed to be easier than what the fuck we were doing or something.
Yeah, the hammer practices, the grind practices.
Yeah.
It's nice to be graduated from that world.
For sure, yeah.
So, and one of the debates you'll hear in the fight world is, which is the best martial art? Like, is it boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion on the matter?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's wrestling just because just the body control you're able to establish, you know, not the mental fortitude you forced to have, what else? Positionally, like being able to deal with, like, we compete so much. Like you have, I don't know how, like hundreds of fucking matches within a season. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't do that. You can't do that with kickboxing. You can't do that. I mean, you can kind of do it with jiu-jitsu, but it's not as likely. You know, yeah. So I feel like it's wrestling. You know,
I think also just the cardio and endurance of like experiencing deep water so many times in practices and competing that you have a special way to navigate when things get really tough.
Yeah.
The other sports are tough, but they don't quite get to that level.
They don't get to that level, yeah.
Like when you're
like
just...
even yeah, that's true. Because when you're like dog tired, like there's ways out in jiu-jitsu. You know, you just tap, or you know, nobody's like pushing you to your absolute limit, you know, not very often. Maybe some high level strictly jiu-jitsu gyms are, but in wrestling it's just like the norm. Even
the mentality of like, hey, you know, you take someone down, you cut them, you put your hands on their head, you hold them down, you like they struggle to get up, you take them down right away, then you cut them, you hold like
yeah, and that's in practice. In practice they want you to do that. Yeah, make everybody as miserable as you can make them.
So you've been on the $1 Million March in Bellator. You ran through so many of the people in that division. Yeah. I guess transitioning to a professional fighter, chasing after that $1 million pot. Walk me through some of that journey.
Yeah. Okay. So I started a lot I was broke, you know, the same way I was in college. You know what I mean? At this point, I had found my wife to be while I was like transitioning. But
what did that do for your life? Because I think the stability, dude, is unbelievable.
Yeah. She has benefited my life just greatly, just because of, you know, the stability. Like knowing, you know, who I'm coming home to, or knowing, you know, I got somebody that has my back. You know what I mean? Because again, I was kind of by myself, like in throughout college. You know, not that I didn't have people. I didn't have people that I could count on, like financially. I didn't really have people that were like kind of in my corner. Like I had like nobody kind of went to any of my events. You like people would congratulate me, you know, but they didn't have the means to like come and see me. They didn't.
And where was Labette?
Labette was in Southeast Kansas.
Okay.
And then Kearney, you know, is in Nebraska, Kearney, Nebraska.
Which is a hike from Houston.
Exactly. It's how, like, both of them, like 7-8 hours or something. But yeah, so like in college, like I remember so this is another thing. Like I used to do stuff to like get by. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So for instance, like when I was like driving back to Houston from Nebraska, I had a car. I got a car that I bought for $400 from my friend. It had no muffler on it, so everywhere it would go, it'd be like wah! every single place. Like when I started up, it go wah! And it also didn't bag up. So so anytime I went to places, I had to park somewhere that I could either drive forward from, or I had to like stick my foot out the car and literally like push back, like put it in neutral and push back. So this car that I had drove, but it was reliable. That motherfucker made it from like Houston to goddamn Nebraska like 4 times. And one time it was coming back, like one of my tires was rubbing dry, or the wires were coming out of it. But I didn't have money to like buy a tire or whatever, and then I had to like fill it up with air. Like it was like sinking like every couple days or something, and I didn't have money to get back and buy a tire. So I fucking found like it looked like an abandoned. It was off of 249. It was a abandoned car that it was in front of a beauty supply store. So if somebody's watching this and they tire just got randomly took, I took that tire and I put it on my car. But it was a little too big, so like if I would turn too much, it would like rub the fucking fender and stuff. But that was like the type of stuff I had to do to like get by, you know, or I had to like sleep with moms in college, you know, to have a home cooked meal, you know what I mean, or you know.
That sounds kind of like a cool aspect of it.
Yeah, but my mind was like,
were you on Tinder finding these people?
No, I was. Tinder wasn't even around. You know, I'm like 35.
You were spitting game.
I was just spitting game at bars, and then I would get to the house. They would have like kids, and I would sit at the table with the kids. You know what I mean, for like food or whatever. I did it one time when it was cold there, and our heat had went out. I did it one time to have it was like cold and our heater was not working or whatever, so I did it, you know, to sleep somewhere warm, you know. So
was it hard spitting game knowing like, okay, I don't have a place I can feel comfortable sleeping?
I felt like I was like better at it when I was like,
so you're good under pressure.
When I needed to do it, I was like, oh well, I'm gonna tell her fucking anything. I got to like it's gotta happen. Like I can't take no for an answer. You know.
Did you have like a style or like a pickup line, or like did you just go with the flow and get her done?
I went with the flow for the most of it. You know, I think I'm naturally happy or whatever.
You got charisma.
Yeah, I got charisma. You know, so I talked to him, and then I wouldn't like, hey, I need to stay here tonight. I just, you know, just talk to him and fucking to call him pretty. And but when I got a wife, we talk about when I got I got my it was my wife to be, you know, I didn't have to like kind of spend money on clothes. I feel like I didn't have to like impress nobody. She was cooking for me. She just gave me a lot of stability, you know, financially. She was a teacher, you know, like she didn't make a lot of money, but she gave me the ability to like kind of put all my eggs into training. I still had 3 jobs, you know, while I was like training, especially in the beginning of my career.
What kind of things were you doing?
So I worked at a moving company. So I would do a moving company.
Was this in Milwaukee?
The weekends. Yeah, in Milwaukee. Yeah, I worked at a Brothers Moving Company in Milwaukee. I just found them on freaking like when I first moved there. I think it was the Monster or one of those. What's the names? And then they hit me up.
A job.
And then
sourcing,
I started working for them. I worked at AWA. You know, after a couple months, I was able to work for them. And then I work at UPS. So I would do all those things. You know, I would do the AWA at night, and I do the moving on the weekends or Fridays and then I would do, then sometimes on the off season of, because at first I wasn't doing it full time with AWA, I was doing UPS or whatever, just to make like our ends meet, you know. But then I would also, when I first transferred there, I was going to all the practices in the morning. I would hit kickboxing, then I'd hit jiu-jitsu, then I hit the pro class, and then I try to hit pads after. With Coach Cush or Coach Joe, and then I would go and I run 3 miles.
That's an exhausting day.
Yeah, but then after that, then I would go to work at UPS. You know, like loading.
And that seems like
packages.
It wouldn't be an easy job
it's
either.
Not, and you know, I will never work for them again. Well, probably because I got a little money now, but they like I would like kind of work my ass off or whatever, and the faster I would go, I feel like the more they would want me to do, you know? Like, they was like, oh, man, you do a really good job. Okay, let's put you over here because there's more packages and we need those packages. And I'm like, well, and even like I would do like they call them heavy or they had a name for them, but they're like the heavy packages or whatever, like weights and like machinery and stuff. Like you would like have to lift it up onto the truck or whatever is the only way to get it up there. And they would like put me on that shit while I was like cutting weight and shit. Like, oh, Rafion can do it. Yeah, Rafion work hard. He'll fucking get the shit up there or whatever. So yeah, I hated it just because I was like, the more I do for y'all, the more fucking shit y'all want. But yeah, that's what Michaela in my life helped me. You know, like put all my eggs into training and make ends meet.
It's interesting. Like a lot of men I talk to are really, really not a fan. Like marriage is not talked about in a good way by a lot of men. But to me, marriage is one of the best things I've ever done in my life.
Bro.
And like when I got fired from my job and then went into this full time, like she was the one that gave me the runway to actually do it and to go for it. And if I didn't have her stability, I think I probably would have right away gotten another job. And so I think, why is it you think so many men are like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not going to get married when it's really the greatest thing you can do.
I think the main thing is people want to kind of have sex with whoever they want to have sex with. I think that's the main. I don't see no other. Like benefits, you know. And for me, I'm not like. I feel like that comes with a lot of other stuff that I don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to impress this fucking girl. I don't want to have to, worry about two separate personalities. I don't want. I'm not there. Mm-hmm. Like, I love my wife, and I feel like what we got is amazing. Like, I feel like she is on the same wavelength as me. I don't want to like start all over with somebody else, or like when they say like the grass is not greener on the other side. Like, having sex with somebody else come with a whole lot of other problems that I just don't want to deal with, in my life.
As men, we definitely are always gonna have to fight temptation, and even just like someone walks by, you're like, you're just wired to be like, I would like to have sex with that person.
But like that looks nice.
It is easy to like. To me, it's always like easy to think like to go through the exercise of like whoever it is.
Yeah.
Even if I'm like an absolute stallion, it's the best 5 hours of my life. Like I'm just swinging and banging. Yeah. Immediately, as soon as I come, I'm going to be like, I just threw everything away. Yes, and it's so easy to be like, not worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't, like, the enticement of starting something with somebody or whatever. Like, oh, it sounds cool or whatever. But the moment probably that you have sex or you're like in it, you're like, like this shit is exhausting. Like, okay, so for instance, like before I got a girl or whatever, I didn't do relationships, I didn't do relationships, so I talked to a lot of girls kind of at the same time. But that shit is fucking scary and exhausting. Like the thought of like maybe getting caught, the thought of fucking, everything
saying the wrong name,
saying the wrong name, and I did that shit often. I was like in the fucking. I used to talk to some girls from Lincoln, and I was like. They had like the parking lot or whatever. Then you go like down the elevator to the O Street, like the party street or whatever. One time, like two of the girls that I was talking to was in the same fucking elevator with me, and it was the most nerve-wracking shit of my life, bro. Because I'm like, they had friends with them, and I feel like they friends like knew I was talking to their friend, but I wasn't talking to the girls. I never talked to the girls that I was talking to or whatever. And I was just like there, and one of her friends like, Rafion, you quiet, you know what I mean? Like, why you so quiet? You normally like talking. And I'm like, if you only knew. Like, and then as soon as the fucking elevator opened, I just like sprint out, and I'm like, fuck, man. Like, this shit is like nerve-wracking. I don't feel like, I'm not built for that shit. I'm not built for that shit at all, so.
Yeah, when I hear stories about people having like dual families, I'm like, how did they...
That's exhausting, bro.
Well, and like you hear about these families like, oh, this guy had two families and they didn't know for like 10. How did you not know? Like
it just sounds like so like you gotta be a goddamn super spy or something. You know what I mean? Like you gotta hide every fucking thing. That shit is not worth it for me. You know what I mean? And maybe, you gotta hide every single thing you doing. You gotta fucking separate every single thing. That shit is like, and that's the other thing to me. Like, so what's important to me, it is my family, but like my career, I need to be able to like pour a lot of like MMA takes a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. Like I don't got time for this other shit. I can't be fucking ripping and running and hiding my phone or hiding fucking receipts. I don't know. Like, I can't be doing that shit. That shit is crazy.
It does feel good to have somebody that you're just completely open and honest and truthful.
It's easy.
I never was a good liar, and I never really got into situations where I had to lie ever. But like like even lying to my parents when I was a kid, like having to like think like, wait, what did I say?
Yeah,
like,
bro. It's exhausting, bro.
Living a life where you can just live in truth.
I think that's too what people don't realize. Like marriage is like work to like establish the relationship. You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest work. But everything else is so easy. Like I feel like I found the right person to where like nothing is like hard. You know what I mean? Like we have hard conversations and we talk about, you know, like parenting or, you know, deaths and stuff like that. But as far as like I feel like what we built or whatever together, like I can let my guard down. I don't have to fucking be somebody that I'm not or you know, try to fucking think of fucking lies.
Like what I tell Sarah is I really hope we die at the same time because neither of us can imagine like being the one that's left.
Bro, and then you got to start something with somebody new. And that's, so me and my wife talk about this, like, I'm kind of disgusting. I feel like, and like I poop in front of her. I gotta fucking go through that stage where I can't, you know what I'm saying, fart or I can't do, you know what I'm saying? I can't do shit in front of somebody. Like that shit it's annoying. Like I don't want to do that. No, we got some shit now where I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. You know what I mean? So yeah, I ain't trying to start nobody new.
So what's currently on your radar right now? What are you working towards?
Yeah.
What's happening, man?
Yeah, so something that's been like big on me now is like financial literacy for my family and like stability. Huge. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that was something that nobody like told me about, and I didn't really learn about until I like left and seen people doing like.
Why is that not talked about in school,
bro?
To think that you went through 16 years or whatever, kindergarten through college, and still it's like unless you took the time to research on your own, No one talked about a budget. No one talked about debt. No one told you how to buy a house. No one told you about a credit card.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a grand conspiracy or just feels like the education system is incompetent.
Yeah. And it's like, what do we learn? Like, why are we in school? If this stuff is not really built or to make you successful.
But you use trigonometry a lot, so that's helpful. That school was in that, right?
Exactly.
So what's a financial lesson that you've learned? And I think especially in the fight game where it's like you have 2 to 4 times a year that is your payday. And you have to be careful about how, like, it's not like a consistent monthly draw.
Exactly.
What have you learned? What are your financial lessons?
So one thing I have learned is like, so I'm not going to be fighting forever. You know what I mean? So I need to put my chips, or I need to put them away to something that's wealth building, or you know what I mean, that's gonna set me up for when I'm done. You know, so when I can be done, I don't need to come back to it. So I've been big on that. You know, I take probably like half the check I get, you know, and then I put it away. You know, I take another like third of it, and then I put it on to something wealth. I invest in something. You know what I mean?
What kind of stuff do you like to invest into?
So I started the Turo business. You know what I mean? I've invested in some properties.
We should have gotten your Turo for this trip. We would know.
Oh shit! Yeah, I got a fucking car.
You got properties.
I got six. I got 6 cars or whatever.
Wow.
And then I'm working on getting a property this summer. I'm still like looking and.
I think the only path to kind of, if I'm going to put it like the simplest way, to escape the matrix, the only path to it is to own something, whether it's a piece in an energy drink business or a real estate or part of I guess the ones that I'm big into right now are Vanguard. So like the mutual funds were like, the S&P 500 where you put it in and it's going to do about 8 to 10% a year. Yeah. I don't trade. I'm not a day trader, but I know, oh wow, that's gotten bigger.
It's going to grow. Exactly.
Yes. And then real estate too. And like to me, because there's going to be a time where people don't find me interesting, or maybe I'm older. I don't want to go to dangerous fucking places all the time. There's a time where another chapter will come about. Yeah. And so that's something that me and Sarah have been really, really focused on is growing the real estate portfolio and just building the cash flow.
Exactly.
And
the equity and the fucking, you know what I'm saying, with appreciation, like something that's gonna gonna build dividends later down the road, or building blocks to wealth.
How'd you figure out to getting into Turo? Did you know somebody? How'd you?
No, I was like looking to invest in something, and then I like found it on Instagram, or I found somebody doing it on Instagram.
For the people that aren't familiar, it's like the Airbnb of car rental.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I do most of mine on Hire Car now.
Okay.
Hire Car is a similar platform. It's like geared toward people who want to like work for Uber or do.
So they use
Uber
your
Eats,
car
and then
to.
they use my car to do that or whatever. They'll rent it like long term, and then they'll they pay the same way they do on Turo, but it's more geared toward people who are using the car for work.
So it's not like you have to constantly manage pickups and drop off. It's more.
So the other thing was, I was looking for something that was more passive, So I
driving to the airport every other day to make sure they have it. Someone has to pick you up to take you home. Like there's a lot of logistics to think about.
Yeah, and so with mine, like I can have them. I pick them up. I have them pick up the car like across the street. I got a lock box on the car, whatever. So they just put in a lock box. They get the car.
That's not yours outside, is it? By chance?
Yeah,
that's not yours outside. The Toyota we got.
No, that's not. That's not mine. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't have to, and then especially when they run them long term, I don't really have to do a lot. Take care of the oil change, take care of the tires or whatever needs to be fixed on the car, and it's super passive, so I don't necessarily have to do it. You know what I mean? Every day to make profits from them.
And it's fun too to watch like. One turns into two.
Yeah,
like the snowball effect.
That's super fun. Or to watch like an account like grow. Like, oh, I started with $500. Look, now I got 10. That's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? That's cool to like watch.
And I think the hardest step in the investment journey is literally the first one, the first car, the first house that you're gonna use. Because you're gonna fail, you're gonna like learn some stuff, you're gonna lose some money, someone messed the car up.
Somebody recently, so I learned one lesson. Like I don't do stuff off of the app because that's what happened.
That's
I
when
did
they
it off
screw
the
you.
app. I wasn't able to take advantage of the insurance, and somebody got their own insurance, and then I kind of lost. So I took an L. Somebody like stole my car, like legitimately.
Do you have a Kia?
No, it's not a Kia.
Okay.
Like they're like, so pretty much. They were paying for a month and then they just stopped paying, and I was like, hey, okay, if you can't pay, I'm gonna need the car back.
I'm gonna need the car back.
And then they were like, what'd they say? Oh, they were like, okay, yeah, I'll give it to you tomorrow or whatever. And then tomorrow came around like a couple days, they didn't get a car, and I was like, okay, well, hey, I need the address to come pick it up. And they was like not giving me the address. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna have to get the police involved if you don't give me the address in the next 5 minutes. And then they were like, okay. And I was like, from there I was like, oh shit. They know something I don't know or whatever. And so what happened was I was like, okay, I call the police or whatever. I got to report this car. They're like actively stealing my car right now. Like the rental is over and they refuse to give it back. And then they were like, oh, well, you got to fucking send them a demand letter. So you got to send them a demand letter, certified mail. Then you got to wait for the receipt. And then you got to wait 10 days and wait for the receipt. Then you can file the car as stolen, which I'm assuming they know that or whatever.
Because a lot of those people are like professional system players.
You know the system or whatever. But I didn't know that or whatever. So then I waited the 10 days or whatever, and then I filed the police report the right way. But it turns out that the cop was like, well, yeah, it's not. I can't report it I can report the vehicle stolen, because that's the other thing. I kind of want this. I call her a bitch. I call it, but I want her to pay. You know what I mean? I just want her to do some. I want her to go to jail, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she's laughing at me. She's like, oh, okay, whatever. And she got no consequence. She just gonna do this to somebody else.
She has no respect or fear about it.
Yeah, no fear about it. Yeah, it's weird or whatever. But yeah. So and then the hire car, they hired a repo team to try to get the car. And
do they have any idea where it is?
They have no idea where it is. Like, they don't have no idea.
Imagine searching through Houston trying to find this car.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, and I feel like she knows that or whatever. And they can't report it stolen, they say, because I gave her the car. We had an agreement.
Do you have her driver's license and information?
She had her driver's license, but she had it was a state ID. She used the state ID. She didn't use her actual driver's license. Like, we got the information like from the cop now about her real driver's license and her real address and stuff. But yeah, but it's a process. But I learned that I need to have GPS trackers on my car And that was just something I was like, oh, I'll save money here, you know, and I'll be all right, you know.
Oh man, every time you try and look for a good shortcut, it's usually an expensive learning lesson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One thing I'm curious about is like, okay, so I saw this with a Houston rapper. This guy, he was beefing with somebody, followed somebody in a car. 2 old people come out, and he's like, oh, this is probably my op's grandma and grandpa. Boom, pop him. And people are like, free him. What the fuck is with like some crimes? Like, why do you think some people are just like, the most heinous crime can be committed and people are going to sell free him t-shirts or some shit? Like, what is that, dude?
I mean, I think that's just like our culture and not trusting the law, you know? So, and it's like
executing grandparents, if that doesn't like count as like lock him up, you know what I mean?
That's crazy, you know what I mean? And it's also like your family is usually the ones creating the free me or free him, what's the name? They probably don't know the full story, or they're just backing you because you're family members, you know what I mean? But that's insane to even like suggest he should be free if he did that crime. Like, that's insane.
We were in Louisville, and I was like, hey, like, it's been good, guys. Any final thoughts before we peace out? They're like, oh, yeah, free so-and-so, so-and-so, and like, free crazy. I'm like, whoa. Should we really be freeing crazy? And they're like, yeah, free him. I'm like,
is Crazy the one who did that? Or,
no, this is a whole other town.
His name, yeah. His name is Crazy. It sounds like he into some shit. Are we gonna be okay if he's free? Yeah, no. I think that's just our culture. And to be honest with you, after this whole like car steal situation, I'm like, the police don't do shit. What the fuck do they do?
Isn't that amazing that you can have a stolen car and I just like, we'll do some paperwork.
I literally got the person who stole it. I fucking, you know what I'm saying? Go lock this bitch up. And they can't. You know what I mean? Because of fucking, I don't know, what's it called? Bureaucracy or the paperwork of it.
There's so many layers of nonsense. Like,
nonsense, bro.
You think, and especially, but that's a pretty blatant crime. That's not like someone like took a $5 package off your porch. That's a car.
They took a car. She's actively taking the car, and you have no way to like enforce the law. What the fuck are you here for? Defund the police. No, I really didn't.
Do you still say that?
I don't say that like seriously. Like, I know that there's, you know, they do a lot, and the fucking like we need police. But at the same time, y'all, I've called the police to my house here probably 6 times. Okay, like 3 of them was for my brother. He has schizophrenia, and we were needing help because he was like off his medicine. Each time I've called them there, they have been able to do nothing. Like, they can't do anything. Like, no, I can't do that. You see, because of
what were you hoping they did in that situation?
So in that situation, I was hoping for a mental warrant, and I was hoping that they would be able to take my brother and admit him into a hospital,
institutionalize him,
and admit him into the hospital and just get him on the medicine because he was refusing to take the medicine. A mental warrant. Yeah.
So basically, like, instead of like we can search your house warrant, but like, hey, if this person has a known mental issue, we can take him to a hospital where they get help.
And then what they said was they couldn't do it because he wasn't, like, he was pretty much, he was having like manic episodes or whatever, but he wasn't harmful to himself or he wasn't harmful to somebody. You know what I mean?
Just like put a knife in his hand, like,
I know.
Look down.
I was like, man, do I need to like frame my brother? Which I don't want to do that. I don't want him to have like criminal fucking record over shit. I just want you to get medicine. You know what I mean? But yeah, they said they couldn't do nothing. He also fucking, he like smacked my fucking kid with a pool noodle though. It was a pool noodle, but like my kid was like, hey, Uncle Doug, like, you want to play? And he was like, or he was like, no, he said, can I hit you? Can I hit you or whatever? And then my brother was like, well, can I hit you? And then he was like, my kid was like, yeah, you can hit me. And then he like hit him or whatever. And then my brother like smacked him and like knocked him off his feet or whatever. And so I was like, hey, Douglas, like, that's not allowed. Like, I'll beat the shit out of you if you fucking put your hands on my kid. Like, do not fucking put your hands on my kid. He was like, well, he came over, he hit me or whatever. I was like, Douglas,
he's kid.
He's 4 years old, bro. He's 4 years old. He's like playing with you. And he was like, no, you don't understand. Like, the cops can, he was like, the cops can come take your kid if he's unruly. He just running around the house. There's no rules for him. He's unruly. Like, I'm gonna call the cops on your kid. And he called the cops. And
he's staying with you at your house.
He was staying. I got him into a group home where there's like,
that sounds stressful now.
Dude. Yeah, it was. We just moved him out but he's my brother too, so and that was part of the reason I moved to Houston, because I needed him to be taken care of, you know what I mean? So but yeah.
When the crazy uncle is calling the cops on your own kids, though, that's when it's time to be like, buddy.
Yeah, and that was it. Like, at that point, we were like, yeah, I'm going to have to find you somewhere else to stay because you don't want to follow the rules of this house. Because we were like, yeah, hey, don't call the cops to this house like this. We don't call cops here for, you know what I mean? Like, we don't know what the fuck going to happen. But, yeah, that and a couple other instances, we ended up getting them into a group home. But my point was, like, the cops couldn't do anything, you know? Even I was like, man, he hit my kid. And the cop was like, well, is there any, what did he say? Is there any marks? Is there any marks on the kid? And I was like, well, no, I think it was a pool noodle. His, like, face might be a little red or whatever. But, like, y'all can't just take him to a hospital. And what's the name? He's like, nope, we can't. We can't. And then because he's we couldn't even kick him out of the house because of like
squatter rights.
Oh. Yeah.
Because he's there more than 28 days, you can't just get him out.
You can't just get
Did
him
he
out.
know that like he had the rights to stay?
I don't know if he knew that.
Like, because what would happen if you just like got his stuff out and like changed the locks?
So what I did, what happened was, because at one point we were like, Douglas, hey, you can't stay here unless you get on medicine. We need to have you on medicine. Or whatever. He's like, no, I don't need medicine. You know, he was believing that God was telling him that he didn't need medicine. And so, I mean, I pretty much just told him, like, hey, like, you gonna have to leave unless you get on medicine. And pretty much I was just like, so one day I was like, hey, okay, all right, it's time to leave or whatever. And I like grabbed him by the arm, and then he was like, he was like, get off of me. No, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't got to go nowhere or whatever. And I was like, nah, you finna leave or whatever. It's time for you to go. Oh, because he had stole money out of our room. Yeah, he stole money out of our room. I was like, okay, yeah, it's time for you to go. And then he had, what's the name? And so then he like, I tried to push him again, and then he like jerked away, and then like, what's the name? Threw a punch. And then at me, I'm like,
bad decision, buddy.
I'm like, thank you. Okay, now I can like use force, like appreciate it. So I like slipped it or whatever, and then I took his back or whatever, and then I went to start choking him, and I was just gonna choke him unconscious. Well, I did. I choked him unconscious, and then fucking just like put him outside, and then I was like, okay. So then like once he woke up, I was like, hey, like, you gonna have to get on medicine or this is gonna keep happening. You know what I mean? So you gonna have to pick one. Like, you gonna get on medicine, you gonna leave, like, what you gonna do? Or whatever. He's like, I'm gonna get my stuff. Let me get my stuff and get out of here. Or whatever. And so he like, he went out, he like left, but he had no place to go. So he just like wandered around our neighborhood probably for like a couple days. And then he came back, and then I was like, what's up? What you doing? You ready to go get medicine? He was like, nah, man, let me just come in, man. I'm tired of being out here or whatever. I was like, bro, you need to get on medicine. I got to have you on medicine. Like, you can't come here unless you get on medicine. You go get evaluated and we get on medicine. And then he was like, he's like, all right. Then he left again. He left for a couple days. He came back. And then he tried to like, he was like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to go to the hospital. But first I got to take a shower. Then I got to do my laundry. And then I was like, okay, let's go. He was like, oh, no, I got to take a shower. And I was like, nah, bro, you was in the bathroom for like 30 minutes. Like, either leave or you gonna take medicine. Left for a couple days, and then he came back, and then he was ready to get on medicine, and then he was able to stay again. But then shortly after that, we put him in a group home, and because they'll give him medicine, they'll make sure he's going to work, they'll supervise him. You know, it's a better situation, not only for him,
for everybody involved.
Yeah, for us, like, you know, like we were getting to the point where we were like, hey, man,
that's a big sacrifice on the family.
Yeah.
And a little scary too.
Yeah, it's a little scary, yeah. But everything's better now, so.
I got a couple more topics. I know you got a lot of things to do. You're moving and shaking, man, here in Houston. But
yes,
there's a fight coming up this weekend. We got Sugar Sean.
Oh, yeah.
Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah.
You got any predictions, any thoughts about how that might go?
You know, the tale or as old as time, as they say, the grappler versus striker, or the grappler versus a striker. The grappler usually comes out on top, especially if there's like such a great gap in the grappling, which we don't know how good Sean O'Malley is.
I got to train at his gym a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
His coach choked me out, Coach Tim.
Yeah.
He has some good, and apparently he got to go train with college wrestlers. He said he didn't get taken down once. I didn't get to go with
Sean?
him. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I didn't get to go with him that week because his back was hurting him and he was resting up. But
yeah,
I think he has a surprising level of grappling that people
I think
won't
so.
expect. But the caliber of Sterling is the ultimate world class.
Yeah.
And did Sterling take Cejudo's back in that fight?
Yeah, he took his back for a moment.
If you are taking Henry Cejudo's back,
Right, yeah.
an Olympic wrestler,
Yeah, Olympic champion.
Olympic champion.
Yeah.
It does feel like that's going to be the make or break part of it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the gap is too, and Sterling's not one to pretend he's anything different. Like, he's awkward, I feel like, on his feet, but his ultimate goal is to get him down. You know what I mean? And I think he has the means to do that, you know. And
does it feel like the same, before going into the Khabib McGregor fight? It almost feels the same, either he gets knocked out.
Right.
So either Sean's going to find a way to knock him out on the way in, the entry, the knee, whatever it's going to be, or he's going to get choked. Does it feel like those are the most likely two answers?
Definitely. Because that's the way, I feel like that's the way Sean O'Malley wins, you know. He either knocks him out or gets choked out, I feel.
Do you feel any pull or temptation to create a character or that to be big? Like Kobe Covington was kind of a regular guy and then he turned on this America character to be big, or you see the transformation of Sean over the years. He goes from a normal kid, that's shaving his eyebrows for $50 to he looks like he's out of a movie. He looks like an author wrote about him in a book and created a fight character and he became that. Do you feel any pressure that
to make more money or to be bigger? So I thought about this, but I think having kids and kind of wanting them to, I know that I'm their role model and I know that I am their greatest indicator to success.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're gonna follow a lot of what I do. So any character that I portray, I want them to be proud of it. I want them to be able to emulate it. So I wouldn't be able to go something way outside of my normal.
We've been talking so damn long that the SD card got filled up and we realized we've been talking for 2 hours now.
Crazy.
And I guess, Rafion, before you head out, get your next workout in, whatever you're about to do, tell the people what you got next on the plate. Do you have a fight scheduled? What's happening?
No, I don't have a fight scheduled. There's rumblings that I might be fighting in November.
Do you have an opponent figured out?
Don't have an opponent figured out. But yeah, I should be fighting in November. I'm ready. So I recently figured out that I was doing something wrong in my nutrition my last 2 fights. So I'm excited to see what that can contribute to my next camp.
Can you say what that is, or kind of a secret?
No, it's not a secret.
Okay.
I switched meal plans this last 2 fights, and I've been feeling a little tired during the camp or whatever, but we figured out that I just wasn't eating the meal plan. The food that they gave me was not the only things that I was supposed to eat, and I wasn't eating all of that, so I was just malnutrition these last 2 camps. But from my own, just something that I was doing on my own. They gave me 4 meals, but I was eating 1 in the morning. I would eat 1 in between practices, and then I would eat 1 at night. So I wouldn't eat the last one, and then on another day, because they have a high and a low day according to my workouts, I was eating the 3 meals, so I was not eating the second meal, and then I was supposed to supplement that meal with a protein shake. So I was, for the last
you were running on E for a lot of your training and fights.
For a lot of my training, and then my fights, I feel like I would feel a little better, but I wasn't able to push as hard, and I wasn't as confident in my my cardio these last couple times. But I felt like I thought it was because I was getting old, but it turns out I was just not eating enough. So
life is such a journey, and you're always learning. And folks, if you want to tune in, we got a guy here, a wrestler that can take down national champions. He can knock out black belts in kickboxing.
Yeah.
He can choke out black belts in jiu-jitsu. Like, this is a very talented, dynamic, exciting fighter. And we've had a great pleasure in hosting you these last couple hours. We wish you the best on your journey. And thank you, Raufeon Stots. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.